President Trump is going to attend a private with the members of the Business Roundtable tomorrow, addressing one of the most powerful business lobbying groups in Washington. Joining us now, former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. Good to have you on set.
Good morning.
Mr. Speaker. Good to see you. And I guess a lot of eyebrows have been raised as some of the people that you thought might never come back to Donald Trump have come back, whether it's some of the meetings in Silicon Valley and fundraisers or Schwartzman or whatever. But the Business Roundtable, we're talking Josh Bolten, who was chief of staff for George W. Bush, and really it kind of represents the old guard of the Republican Party and conservatives. That group does, in terms of no tariffs and a lot of things that Trump is sort of turned upside down in a populist way. So what does it mean that they've invited him in? And is it still a frosty relationship, or are they actually embracing him because there's nothing else they can do at this point?
I think they see what everybody else sees, that he is going to win. I mean, if you look at who's in that room, but if you look at, I was just with the president.
He's going to win what?
He's going to win the presidency.
You think so? Okay.
And if he's going to win the presidency, the CEOs need to be on.
Yeah, they need to be on board. But if you think of these names, I was just with him Monday in Palm Beach, but the president just came through California. I saw people who have never given to Trump, who would avoid Trump, not only giving him big money, but putting their name out there and showing up. And this is all after the conviction. It's almost that they're frustrated by what has transpired, that they feel that it's coming after them too. And the Business Roundtable, I think, having the president in there, what it tells to your viewers is the next administration, businesses aren't going to focus on ESG and DEI. They're going to focus on running a business. And I think it's going to be stronger for America and the others. And it's not, look, I've been on this show many times, even in the primary, telling you he was going to win and he's going to win the general. If you purely look at data, which your viewers do, and if you look at where President Trump was as an incumbent 4 years ago now, it's an 8.4% swing. If you think about the election, Biden won, but he only won by 48,918 votes. Yep. And his favorability was plus 10. Biden is sitting at a 37% favorability right now, the lowest of any president at this moment in time. So if you check pure data, it's fundamentally different. And if you look at the Electoral College and those 6 swing states, you can't say 6 anymore, because Virginia and Minnesota's coming into play. I was just texting with Governor Youngkin this morning, and you're seeing something different. So if Trump is expanding the playing field, whichever side is on offense has a better chance to win. The Senate is an excellent map for Republicans. The House, they have a better chance of winning this cycle than they did the last 2 cycles, and we won the best.
Ask you about a lot of Trump's stated policies are still not what the Business Roundtable would put on its list of priorities. How do they reconcile 10% tariffs on everything? How do they reconcile some of these populist?
But you're assuming the Business Roundtable is right about everything. They've been wrong about China. I mean, I think the one thing when you thought back in 2016, a lot of people were upset with Trump and the Business Roundtable saying he might be wrong about China. Now everybody has shifted back.
The Business Roundtable embraced DEI too. Yes. I remember calling those guys.
And they were wrong there. And look, when we look at the future, you have people on here all the time about AI. And next time I come back, I got some exciting news of something I'm going to announce following on the things I worked in Congress. If you want an AI future, you really first have to look at the grid. We've got to expand our grid and double it. And who's better to do that than Donald Trump?
Can I ask you a question? Do you think that the CEO community and even the Business Roundtable, which of course had spoken out against the president after January 6th, and even prior to that, there were so many business leaders who had joined various committees and things to try to advise the president, if you remember, and then stepped away after Charlottesville and the like. Do you believe that they're doing this because it's a binary choice to them and it's who they dislike more? It's that they actually now like Trump and they don't remember what happened before? Is there some kind of amnesia effect going on? What do you think is happening here? No, I'm trying to understand.
Okay, there's a combination, but it's not just the CEOs. If you look at the CNN poll, which was done probably 3 weeks ago. They asked America, all Americans, was the Trump presidency positive? 55% yes, said yes. But if you go back 4 years or 3 years ago, it was at 41%. I think it's a combination.
So they're romanticizing the past? I mean, what do you...
Well, you're now living under the policies of Biden. This election is more about Biden than it is about Trump. And so when you look at the current policies, people are more concerned about the border, inflation, right. And they remember, even if you're in the Business Roundtable, there was also, if you wanted to support Trump, you got blowback. Now they're feeling they could actually say what they truly mean, a number of them. And I think some people, have you laid it out, could be in that position. But it's more so they see a better position on policies comparing these two individuals who have been president for the last 8 years.
Right. Speaker McCarthy, there's new Pew research out that suggests when they polled in 34 different nations, they found that these other nations have more confidence in Biden than Trump, 43% to 28%. I don't know what that means. 43% is not great either. It means more than half of them don't have any confidence in either of our leaders. But what does this mean for us on the world stage?
I would tell you, as America as a whole, Americans need to stop demonizing each other. We fight over small things instead of planning out for the next 50 years. And that's what I want to come back in a couple months and lay out what we can accomplish there. I've spent some time since leaving Congress traveling the world. I've just was over in Asia, meeting with a lot of different foreign leaders, and I still talk to a lot of different foreign leaders. If you see what's happening in Europe today, those current foreign leaders are really not in touch with their constituents. You see a more conservative movement, and a lot of that is spurred by Trump. So I really don't believe in that poll. I have talked to foreign leaders that are in office today that felt the world is safer when Trump's in office because they now see that you got a new axis of evil where China, Russia, North Korea, and Iran have bound together, which didn't happen.
Which country?